guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Books with BethX here. Hope you're all doing amazingly well. So, we're in March, finally. Oh, I'm so happy about this. I'm not a winter person at all. I'm so excited. We're now into spring, it's almost my birthday. I would say the weather's getting warmer, but it's not in England. I think we're due snow next week, sadly. But that's British weather for you. We'll probably get snow in July, knowing our luck. And look at me, British girl talking about weather. Typical British person here. But anyway, today, as you can see by the title, we are discussing what I read in February. So this month, I managed to read 4 books, which means I am on track with my target for each month, but I am still behind on my Goodreads reading challenge. I think I'm behind about 3 or 4 books, I'd say, just because I only managed 2 in January, which wasn't brilliant. But I didn't even manage 2, I managed 1 in January because I'll talk about it in a second, but the first one I finished was one I'd started in January and finished in February. We're now in March. I've actually already got 2 books on the go, so I'm obviously, if you might have seen it already, but I am reading the Goodreads Reading Challenge winners for this month, so I've already almost halfway through the first one of them, and I've also started listening to an audiobook, so I'm listening to Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is really good. I think I'm about 4 or 5 hours in. For the first ever audiobook that I've listened to, I think I've picked one of the longest I could have chosen, but it's okay. It's interesting, I'm enjoying it. It's good learning about her life. She's just met and gotten into a relationship with Barack Obama, so yeah, it's going well for now. But enough of that. This video isn't about what I'm currently reading. It's about what I read last month. So let's begin. So the first book I finished in February, and the one that I read about 80% of in January, is The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien, the first one in the Lord of the Rings series. So yep, I finally finished it. Well done to me. It was a bit of a slog, but I really enjoyed it. I liked being able to compare it to the films, and actually the films, there are some bits obviously missing. There's quite a lot of the journey to Rivendell was very different in the book to the film. There was obviously Tom Bombadil, who a lot of people moan about that isn't in the films. He was there in the beginning, and there was a tree that tried to eat them, and all sorts happened. But yeah, overall I really enjoyed this. I believe I gave it 4.5. I think 4.5 stars. Well worth a read. Obviously it's quite a difficult read. The font is quite small. Pages are big. I mean, it's only like, the strap is moving. This edition's only about 300 odd pages, I believe. Yeah, 400. So you wouldn't think it would take me too long, considering I think one of the books there is longer than that I read in a week. But this took me about 3 weeks to read, which is crazy. But really enjoyed it, well worth a read, especially if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings. And I recommend this edition as well because it's beautiful. I don't know. It's a HarperCollins. I don't know if that helps, but you can buy this, the other 2 in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit in this collection, which I think I maybe already showed off on this channel because I just love it so much. It's just stunning. But yeah, stop blabbering on. I gave this 4.5 stars. So the second book I read this month was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So if you have seen my best of TikTok, I think it's the first one I ever posted. I think it might be on my pinned I'll put my @ on here, but if you go to my pinned, it should be on there. You'll see that, like many people, Evelyn Hugo was one of my favourite books last year. I gave it 5 stars. So this one here, I ended up giving 4 stars. It wasn't as good as Evelyn Hugo, but I did still really enjoy it. So in this one, you're following 2 groups of people. You're following Daisy Jones, who is sort of a rich girl living in LA, quite popular. She's kind of a wannabe celebrity. She's kind of the it girl at times as well, and she basically wants to become a singer. She wants to write her own music. There's a brief period in this where she's been forced to sing other people's songs and she's not happy about it. She wants to sing songs from her own heart. And then you've got the Six, who are a band that consists of two sets of 2 separate brothers and a couple of other members, and they're a rock and roll band pretty much, and they get famous and move to LA as well. And they end up doing a single with Daisy Jones, which neither of them really wanted to do, but it ends up being a massive #1 hit. So they decided to write an album together, and it's basically their story. There's a lot of sex, drugs and rock and roll. There's a few trigger warnings for obviously drugs, alcohol abuse and abortion in this, so just keep that in mind. But overall I enjoyed it. It just felt like there was something missing. I think because it's in supposedly is a documentary format. I'll try and find the page. But you can see it almost reads more like a play, kind of. And you basically, it's supposed to be like a book documentary. I don't know if they're really a thing. I sort of, as I was reading it, I sort of saw it as a TV documentary where you have like bands looking back on their past. There's quite a few of those sort of things in the UK where you have like best songs of the 70s or something like that, and the band will then talk about their experience being in the band. But this kind of felt like, I don't know, I don't think that format really worked and allowed you to connect with the characters as well. And I think because you don't really get to know the narrator in this, in Evelyn Hugo, I was going to say Evelyn Hardcastle, which I've got somewhere behind me here. In Evelyn Hugo, you get to know Evelyn throughout her life, but you also get to know the narrator, the writer of her memoir. Whereas in this, you only find out who the narrator is towards the end, and it's at the point that another character dies, and it kind of feels like that character is justifying the other character dying. I'm trying to keep this spoiler free, but if anyone's read this, you'll know what I mean. It kind of felt a bit flat for me. But it's still enjoyable, and I would recommend a read. I'm going to watch a TV show. I think it might even be out now, actually. It was out on the 1st of March. So I'm going to give that a watch. We're just finishing Happy Valley at the minute. No one cares about any of this. We're literally on the last episode of Happy Valley, so we'll finish that and I'll make Chris watch Daisy Jones and the Six with me, which he probably won't even enjoy, but I'll make him watch it. But yeah, 4 stars for this. And then the third book I finished this month is another fantasy, and that is The Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson, the final one in Mistborn Era 2. And I really enjoyed this. I think this is the best one in this Era 2 series, but I'd say overall the Era I'd probably give 4 stars, whereas Era 1 I'd give obviously 5 stars. I think all the books were a 5-star read for me. They were just incredible. But this I still enjoyed. What can I say about this that doesn't spoil the other series? That's the question. So in typical Brandon Sanderson fashion, this ended with answering all of your questions that you had before, but also introducing a few more. I know there's going to be another Era, potentially another 2 to this Mistborn series, but I feel like this ended the series quite nicely, although a bit emotional. I wouldn't say I was as attached to the characters in this as to the first Era, but there was a little bit that didn't make me sad, but I was a little bit, oh, that's a shame, sort of thing. But I really enjoyed this. I found this one really funny. The previous ones I didn't find as funny as this one. Wayne especially, I was reading some of the quotes out to my other half and he was laughing, so yeah, I do recommend reading this series. It definitely adds more to the original series, so it is well worth a read, and obviously it links in with the others. I will say, before you read this, you need to read obviously the rest of the Mistborn Era books, including Era 1, obviously. You also need Elantris and the short story that goes with that. You need the Mistborn short stories, and I'd probably recommend reading all of the other short stories you can read in the Arcanum Unbounded collection, because there's I don't know what it's called, but there's the one with the magic that involves stamping things, and yeah, I don't want to give anything away too much, but definitely read that. I also saw people say you should read and be up to date with Stormlight Archives, but I've not read any of those yet, and apparently this spoils something that happens in that, but that also spoils stuff that happens in this. So I don't know whether that matters as much, because if they spoil each other equally, then is it really necessary? I don't know. But I'll read Warbreaker next, then I'll go on to Stormlight Archive, because I know that's a very bulky series, isn't it? I think most of the pages are about 1,000 pages long. So yeah, I'll go on to that next. But yeah, overall, enjoyed this series. Not as good as Mistborn Era 1, but I don't think any fantasy really ever will be. I think that's my top series ever written, to be honest. But yeah, really enjoyed this. 4.5 stars. So the final book I read last month, and another one in a series, which I've realised that 3 of the books I read this month are in series, but to be honest, I am quite a big series reader. I don't really read standalones that much. Anyway, yeah, the final book I read was The Man Who Died Twice, which is the second Thursday Murder Club book. So in this one, I gave this one 4 stars. I actually preferred it to the first one. I gave the first one 3 stars. I felt like the first one was a bit more juvenile, and obviously it was Richard Osman's first book, so you can definitely tell that his writing has improved between that one and this one. I also preferred the mystery in this as well. So in these series, you're following the Thursday Murder Club, which is a group of 4 elderly people who basically investigate true crime and crimes that happen in their local area, until the crimes started happening around them and people started dying. So in the first one, there's a mystery around the owner of their care home. They're kind of in like this really rich complex with like shops and lots of like different apartment buildings. It's sort of like supported living rather than care home living, if anyone knows what that is in the UK. So in this one, again, people are dying around them, but this time a man comes to Elizabeth, who's one of the elderly people, for help. And I did really enjoy this. I quite liked getting to know the characters a bit better. I liked learning more about Elizabeth's backstory. So Elizabeth is sort of like, or was a secret agent in her past life, and she's sort of the ringleader of the group. You've also got Joyce, who was a nurse, I should say. You've got Ibrahim, who is a psychologist, so he's quite good at looking into people's minds. And you've got Ron, who was kind of like a trade unionist type striker, West Ham fan with tattoos, that type of person. And they come together to work out who did it, basically. They're really enjoyable books, especially, I'm not really big into really dark, grim, gory things, really. I mean, I do watch things like The Last of Us and Walking Dead, but I'm not really a big fan of reading that. I mean, I listen to true crime as well, but I struggle to read that sort of thing. But these are quite light and easy. They're not too actiony. It's very character driven, I'd say. But yeah, it's enjoyable. I recommend reading this series, especially if you're not really into mystery thrillers like I am. So yeah, I gave this 4 stars. So that is what I read for the month of February. I think I did quite well. I think overall it was a 4.25 month. I gave 2 4.5s and 1 and 2 4 stars. So quite a good month for me. Usually there'll be at least a 3-star in there, but no, I'm quite proud of that. I don't think, if you've seen my TV after this month, I don't know if this month's going to be as positive. I already know that it's probably not going to be, but hey, that's what the point of doing a reading challenge is to find new books that you may like, or it makes you realise things that you don't want to read, so that's how it works. But yeah, let me know what you read this month, as I'd love to know, and I will add them to my TBR if I've not read them already. I'd love to have like a little chat with you guys in the comments and discuss your reads, so let me know. But thank you for watching. Follow my TikTok, where I've done a brief video on all of these, sort of giving a more detailed review. And yeah, I will speak to you later. Bye!